back to another Will ASMR video. I'm glad you're able to join me in tonight's video. Yesterday, so I went to Barnes& Noble yesterday. I figured it's October. I haven't made an October video yet. I tried to record one, but I didn't like the way it came out. So I never actually uploaded it or even began to edit the video. I just didn't like the way it came out in general. But I'm finally making another ASMR video for October. And I decided that since it was, getting in the spirit of Halloween, so it's coming up in 2 weeks pretty much, I'd get the story, scary story books, all 3 of them. Yeah, I got all 3 of them just for you. Literally searched up the closest Barnes and Nobles to me just for this video. I was like, you know what, where's the closest Barnes and Nobles I can get these books? I wasn't trying to get them on Amazon just because why wait when I could just drive there myself and get them the same day? I was kind of bummed that they didn't have the third one that was in this kind of material, like the original one. They only had this one. I was kind of bummed about that, but I was able to get for 1 and 2 the original. My bad about what I said about these being the original artwork. What I meant by original artwork, I meant as a kid growing up, this is how I saw it. This is how I remember the scary stories to tell in the dark books. Yeah, I remember as a kid reading these in class, as like a little kid reading these in class. I remember I'd get spooked even with like all the classmates around me. I'd still get spooked reading these. I don't know why it was just a little kid in us, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So, I don't know how many I'm gonna get into today. I'll probably read one whole book in tonight's video, and then I'm gonna finish reading all these books in a video for this whole week. So this whole week I got planned, I'm reading all these books. So if you're excited about that, stay tuned as we read them. But to start off our journey in October and in the Halloween spirit, we're gonna start off with the very first scary stories. The very first scary stories to tell in the dark, collected by Alvin Schwartz, illustrated by Brett H. I don't want to even pronounce that, I can't. Are you brave enough for scary stories? Some boys and girls were at a party one night. There was a graveyard down the street, and they were talking about how scary it was. Don't ever stand on a grave after dark, one of the boys said. The person inside will grab you. A grave doesn't scare me, said one of the girls. I'll do it right now. Remember it like it was yesterday. So, my battery's gonna need a charge for my camera, so I'm probably gonna let it do that right now. So, before we even get any further, let me charge that camera so this way we don't get interrupted. Because I'm excited to get into it. recharge this camera battery real quick and we'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. We're back. So, shall we? Scary stories to tell in the dark. Okay, now we're getting into it. A lot of introduction pages. Okay, still some more introduction pages. Okay, this chapter is filled with jump stories you can use to make your friends jump with fright. Okay, so we got the first one, the big toe. A boy was digging at the edge of the garden when he saw a big toe. He tried to pick it up, but it was stuck to something, so he gave it a hard jerk. And it came off in his hand. Okay. Then he heard something groan and scamper away. The boy took the toe into the kitchen and showed it to his mother. "It looks nice and plump," she said. "I'll put it in the soup and we'll have it for supper." That night, his father carved the toe into 3 pieces, and they each had a piece. Then they did the dishes, and when it got dark, they went to bed. The boy fell asleep almost at once, but in the middle of the night, a sound awakened him. It was something out in the street. It was a voice, and it was calling to him, "Where is my toe?" It groaned. When the boy heard that, he got very scared, but he thought, "It doesn't know where I am. It'll never find me." Then he heard the voice once more, only now it was closer. "Where is my toe?" It groaned. The boy pulled the blankets over his head and closed his eyes. "I'll go to sleep," he thought. "When I wake up, it'll be gone." But soon he heard the back door open, and again he heard the voice. "Where is my toe?" It groaned. Then the boy heard footsteps move through the kitchen, into the dining room, into the living room, into the front hall. Then slowly they climbed the stairway. Closer and closer they came. Soon they were in the upstairs hall. Now they were outside his door. "Where is my toe?" the voice groaned. His door opened. Shaking with fear, he listens as the footsteps slowly moved through the dark toward his bed. Then they stopped. "Where is my toe?" the voice groaned. At this point, pause, then jump at the person next to you and shout, "You've got it." The big toe also has another ending. When the boy hears the voice calling for its toe, he finds a strange looking creature up inside the chimney. The big toe also has another ending. When the boy hears the voice calling for its toe, he finds a strange looking creature up inside the chimney. The boy is so frightened he can't move. He just stands there and stares at it. Finally he asks, What you got such big eyes for?" And the creature answers, "To look through and through." What you got such big claws for?" "To scratch up your grave." What you got such a big mouth for?" "To swallow you whole." What you got such a sharp teeth for?" What you got such sharp teeth for?" chomp your bones. Alright, so there's currently like 91 pages of these. Alright, let me skip to another good one. Or we could even do The Walk. Alright, we'll read The Thing next. Ted Martin and Sam Miller were good friends. They spent a lot of time together. On this particular night, they were sitting on a fence near the post office, talking about one thing and another. There was a field of turnips across the road. Suddenly, they saw something crawl out of the field and stand up. It looked like a man, but in the dark it was hard to tell for sure. Then it was gone. But soon it happened again. It walked halfway across the road, then it turned around and went back into the field. Then it came out a third time and started toward them. By now, Ted and Sam were scared and they started running. But when they finally stopped, they decided they were being foolish. They weren't sure what had scared them, so they decided to go back and get a better look. Pretty soon they saw it, for it was coming to meet them. It was wearing black pants, a white shirt, black suspenders. Sam said, "I'm going to touch it, then we'll know if it's real." He walked up to it and peered into its face. It had bright, penetrating eyes sunk deep in its head. It looked like a skeleton. Ted took one look and screamed, and again he and Sam ran, but this time the skeleton followed them. When they got to Ted's house, they stood in the doorway and watched it. It stood out on the road for a while, then it disappeared. A year later, Ted got sick and died. Toward the end, Sam sat up with him every night. The night Ted died, Sam said he looked just like the skeleton. Cold as clay, cold as clay, cold as clay. A farmer had a daughter for whom he cared more than anything on earth. She fell in love with a farmhand named Joe. A farmer had a daughter for whom he cared more than anything on earth. She fell in love with a farmhand named Jim, but the farmer did not think Jim was good enough for his daughter. To keep Jim apart, he sent her to live with her uncle on the other side of the country. Soon after she left, Jim got sick. And he wasn't away and died. Soon after she left, Jim got sick. And he wasted away and died. Everyone said he died of a broken heart. The farmer felt so guilty about Jim's death, he could not tell his daughter what happened. She continued to think about Jim and the life they might have together. One night, many weeks later, there was a knock on her uncle's door. When the girl opened the door, Jim was standing there. "Your father asked me to get you," he said. "I came on his best horse." "Is there anything wrong?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. She packed a few things and they left. She rode behind him, clinging to his waist. Soon he complained of a headache. "It aches something terrible," he told her. She put her hand on his forehead. "Why, you're as cold as clay," she said. you're not ill. And she wrapped her handkerchief around his head. They traveled so swiftly that in a few hours they reached the farm. The girl quickly dismounted and knocked on the door. Her father was startled to see her. "Didn't you send for me?" she asked. "No, I didn't," he said. She turned to Jim, but he was gone, and so was the horse. They went to the stable to look for them. The horse was there. It was covered with sweat and trembling with fear. But there was no sign of Jim. Terrified, her father told her the truth about Jim's death. Then quickly he went to see Jim's parents. They decided to open his grave. The corpse was in its coffin, but around its head they found the girl's handkerchief. Ooh. Okay, so this one's called The White Wolf. The White Wolf. The timber wolves around French Creek had gotten out of hand. There were so many wolves, the farmers could not stop them from killing their cattle and sheep. So the state put a bounty on them. It would pay $110 for every wolf pelt he turned in. A butcher in town named Bill Wilson thought that was pretty good money. The timber wolves around French Creek had gotten out of hand. There's so many wolves, the farmers could not stop them from killing their cattle and sheep. So the state put a bounty on them. It would pay $110 for every wolf pelt he turned in. A butcher in town named Bill Williams thought that was pretty good money. He stopped working as a butcher and started killing wolves. He was good at it. Every year he killed over 500 of them. That came to more than $500. It was quite a bit of money in those days. After 4 or 5 years, Bill had killed so many wolves there were hardly any left in the area. So he retired. He vowed never to harm another wolf because wolves had made him rich. Then one day a farmer reported that a white wolf had killed 2 of his sheep. He had shot at it and hit it, but the bullets didn't have any effect. Soon that wolf was seen all over the countryside, killing and running, but nobody could stop it. One night it came into Bill's yard and killed his pet cow. Bill forgot about his decision never to harm another wolf. He went into town the next morning and bought a young lamb for bait. He took it out into the hills and tied it to a tree. Then he backed off about 50 yards and sat down under another tree. With his gun in his lap, he waited. When Bill didn't come back, his friends started looking for him. Finally, they found the lamb. It was still tied to a tree. It was hungry, but it was alive. Then they found Bill. He was still sitting against the other tree, but he was dead. His throat had been torn open, but there was no sign of a struggle. His gun hadn't been fired, and there were no tracks in the soil around him. As for the white wolf, it was never seen again. The Haunted House. I don't know about you, but this is bringing back a lot of nostalgia. One time, a preacher went to see if he could put a hunt to rest at a house in his settlement. The house had been haunted for about 10 years. Several people had tried to stay there all night, but they would always get scared out by the haunt. So, this preacher took his Bible and went to the house, went on in, built himself a good fire, and lit a lamp. Sat there reading the Bible. Then, just before midnight, he heard something start up in the cellar, walking back and forth, back and forth. Then it sounded like somebody was trying to scream and got choked off. Then there was a lot of thrashing around and struggling, and finally everything got quiet. The old preacher took up his Bible again, but before he could start reading, he heard footsteps. Coming up the cellar stairs, he sat watching the door to the cellar, and the footsteps kept coming closer and closer. He saw the doorknob turn, and when the door began to open, he jumped up and hollered, "What do you want?" The door shut back easy like, and there wasn't a sound. The preacher was trembling a little, but he finally opened the Bible and read a while. Then he got up and laid the book on the chair and went to mending the fire. Then the aunt started walking again, and step, step, step up the cellar stairs. The old preacher sat watching the door, saw the doorknob turn and the door open. It looked like a young woman. He backed up and said, "Who are you? What do you want?" The aunt sort of swayed like she didn't know what to do, then just faded out. The old preacher waited, and when he didn't hear any more noises, he went over and shut the door. He was sweating and trembling all over, but he was a brave man, and he thought he'd be able to see it through. So, he turned his chair to where he could watch, and he sat down and waited. It wasn't long before he heard the aunt start up again, slowly, step, 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 closer and closer, step, step, and it was right at the door. The preacher stood up and held his Bible out before him. Then the knob slowly turned, and the door opened wide. This time, the preacher spoke quiet like. He said, "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, who are you and what do you want?" The aunt came right across the room, straight to him, and took a hold of his coat. It was a young woman about 20 years old. Her hair was torn and tangled, and the flesh was dropping off her face, so he could see the bones and part of her teeth. She had no eyeballs, but there was a sort of blue light way back in her eye sockets, and she had no nose to her face. Then she started talking. It sounded like her voice was coming and going with the wind blowing. She told how her lover had killed her for her money and buried her in the cellar. She said if the preacher would dig up her bones and bury her properly, she could rest. And then she told him to take the end joint of the little piece. Then she told him to take the end joint of the little finger from her left hand and lay it in the collection box. At the next church meeting, and he'd find out who had murdered her. And she said, "If you come back here once more after that, you'll hear my voice at midnight, and I'll tell you where my money is hid, and you can give it to the church." The aunt sobbed like she was tired, and she sunk down toward the floor and was gone. The preacher found her bones and buried them in the graveyard. The next Sunday, the preacher put the finger bone in the collection plate, and when a certain man happened to touch it, it stuck to his hand. The man jumped up and rubbed and scraped and tore at the bone trying to get it off. Then he went to screaming like he was going crazy. Well, he confessed to the murder, and they took him on to jail. After the man was hung, the preacher went back to the house one midnight, and the aunt's voice told him to dig under the heart rock. He did, and he found a big sack of money, and where the aunt had held onto his coat, the print of those bony fingers was burned right into the cloth. It never did come out. This one's called The Guest. A young man and his wife were on a trip to visit his mother. Usually they arrived in time for supper, but they had gotten a late start, and now it was getting dark, so they decided to look for a place to stay overnight and go in the morning. Just off the road, they saw a small house in the woods. Maybe they rent rooms, the wife said, so they stopped to ask. An elderly man and a woman came to the door. They didn't rent rooms, they said, but they wouldn't be glad to have them stay overnight as their guest. They had plenty of room and they would enjoy the company. The old woman made coffee and brought out some cake, and the four of them talked for a while. Then the young couple were taken to their room. They again explained that they wanted to pay for this, but the old man said he would not accept any money. The young couple got up early the next morning before their host had awakened. On a table near the front door, they left an envelope with some money in it for the room. Then they went on to the next town. They stopped in a restaurant and had breakfast. When they told the owner where they had stayed, he was shocked. "That can't be," he said. "That house burned to the ground, and the man and the woman who lived there died in the fire." The young couple could not believe it, so they went back to the house. Only now there was no house. All they found was a burned-out shell. They stood staring at the ruins, trying to understand what had happened. Then the woman screamed. In the rubble was a badly burned table, like the one they had seen by the front door. On the table was the envelope they had left that morning. The girl who stood on the grave. Hold on. Water break. Water break. I think tonight's video, I'm gonna make it an hour-long video. Yes, an hour-long video, just for your relaxation. I'd really love to know what y'all got planned for Halloween this year. Let me know who's gone to any haunted houses lately. Has anybody gone to haunted houses? I've yet to go to any this year. I want to, but I just gotta find more people to go with. Because I do have a lot of my friends back home in Texas, because I currently did move to a new state. And the friends I got out here, they're not really into all that kind of stuff, so I gotta figure out when I got time to go. But let me know if you've ever been to some haunted houses. I'd like to know. And also comment down if any haunted houses that are like crazy in your experiences that I should check out. Let me know. But yeah, with that being said, should we get into some more scary stories? Should I tell y'all a personal story of mine? I think I will. I think I'm gonna tell y'all a personal story of mine. So back when I was a little kid, me and my sister used to share a room. Like when we were little, when we were younger, me and my sister shared a room because we didn't really have the bread like that to have multiple rooms. So like we just made do. So we had shared this one room, and I remember one night, we went to go to sleep. Like it was bedtime, and we went to go sleep. And we're just laying there. I was laying on my bed and she was laying on her bed, and we're just talking. We're just talking to each other because we couldn't fall asleep. And then out of nowhere, we heard like I could hear the voice in my head. I could still hear the voice in my head, but I cannot like recreate it or even come to understand like sister, like, that's one experience herself. Like, she even told me, she's like, I tend to just forget about that moment because, like, not even I can explain that. She, like, that's one of her moments where it was like, we can't explain what had happened, so we just gotta forget about it and act like it never happened. And I feel like that happens with a lot of real ghost stories that people experience. It like, did that really just happen? And it's just like, oh shit, alright, that's crazy. But yeah, as we were laying there, out of nowhere we heard, it sounded like it was right in that room. The sound sounded like it came right from that room. It sounded like it came right from above us. It sounded like it was right on top of us. It was crazy. Like, it was so loud. You heard it throughout the whole room. You just heard it throughout the whole room. That's the best I can explain. I feel like if you were anywhere in that room, you would have heard it, and it would have felt like it was right next to you. It was just so loud. And all it was just, it sounded like an older person. And like, it sounded like an older man. Like an older person. And all it was a like I don't know. Like, my bad, that was weird. Like, I can't recreate the noise that, like, it sounded like a groan. Like, it sounded like a growl mixed with a groan. And it sounded terrifying. It did not sound welcoming. And and it happened. And then it stopped. And we froze. Me and my sister both froze because we heard it. And we were just freaking out, and we called out to our parents, and we're like, yo, and we're like, did you make that noise? Did you do that? And they're all the way in the living room. Yeah, they're all the way in the living room watching TV. And that was not the TV that made the noise, because, like, alright, my bad. The recording had cut off right there. And you could tell that you could tell between the TV and that sounded like it was right in the room with us. And that was one of the experiences I had in that house. The other one was when me and my dad were watching TV in his room. I think we were watching like this. I forget what we're watching. We're watching something. And out of nowhere, like, we both saw it, but I was the one that brought it up. In the corner of our eye, we saw like someone walk past right in front of the bed. Like, we just saw him walk right across the bed. We couldn't like in the corner of my eye, I couldn't like physically see how tall they were or anything, but like all I saw was like someone with long hair walk past the bed, like walk in front of the bed really fast, and it just disappeared. Like, all I saw was like in the corner of my eye, like, whoo, and it was gone. But like, I knew, like, I could tell that that was a girl. Like, I could tell. I know what I saw. We could tell. And I thought it was my sister. And when I asked my dad, I was like, hey, did you just see that in the corner of your eye? And he was like, yeah, I just didn't want to say anything because I didn't want you to get scared. And I was like, oh shit. So like, that house, a lot of stuff had happened in that house, and that was creepy. And that was only one of the houses that happened. That was only one of the houses. We have another house that was my grandma's house, and whoa, hello. We have my grandma's house, and that was pretty crazy. My grandma's house had some crazy experiences over there, and that's a whole nother video for when we get into these books. For the month of October, I'm just gonna be reading and telling y'all ghost stories for ASMR, so I hope y'all are ready and I hope y'all enjoy. Does the mic sound weird to y'all? Is it okay? I feel like it's making a robotic noise. It could also be my retainers. So yo yo yo. Yo 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 yo. We're running up on like 40 minutes, almost close to an hour, which is crazy. Let's get into the girl who stood on a grave. Some boys and girls were at a party one night. There was a graveyard down the street, and they were talking about how scary it was. Don't ever stand on a grave after dark, one of the boys said. The person inside will grab you. He'll pull you under. That's not true, one of the girls said. It's just superstition. I'll give you $1 if you stand on a grave, said the boy. A grave doesn't scare me, said the girl. I'll do it right now. The boy handed her his knife. Stick this knife in one of the graves, he said. Then we'll know you were there. The graveyard was filled with shadows and was quiet as death. There is nothing to be scared of, the girl told herself. But she was scared anyway. She picked out a grave and stood on it. Then quickly she bent over and plunged the knife into the soil. As she started to leave, but she couldn't get away. Something was holding her. Something was holding her back. She tried a second time to leave, but she couldn't move. She was filled with terror. Something has got me, she screamed, and she fell to the ground. When she didn't come back, the others went to look for her. They found her body sprawled across the grave. Without realizing, she had plunged the knife through her skirt and had pinned it to the ground. It was only the knife that had her. She had died of fright. Next one is gonna be room for one more. Let's get it. This is gonna be the last one I read for this video, just because we're running up on an hour for one. A man named Joseph Blackwell came to Philadelphia on a business trip. He stayed with friends in the big house they owned outside the city. That night they had a good time visiting, but when Blackwell went to bed, he tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. Sometime during the night he heard a car turn into the driveway. He went to the window to see who was arriving at such a late hour. In the moonlight he saw a long black hearse filled with people. The driver of the hearse looked up at him. When Blackwell saw his queer, hideous face, he shuddered. The driver called to him, "There's room for one more." Then he waited for a minute or two, and he drove off. In the morning, Blackwell told his friends what had happened. "You were dreaming," they said. "I must have been," he said, "but it didn't seem like a dream." After breakfast, he went into Philadelphia. He spent the day high above the city in one of the new office buildings there. Late in the afternoon, he was waiting for an elevator to take him back down to the street. But when it arrived, it was very crowded. One of the passengers looked out and called to him. "There is room for one more," he said. It was the driver of the hearse. "No thanks," said Blackwell. "I'll get the next one." The doors closed, and the elevator started down. There was shrieking and screaming, then the sound of a crash. The elevator had fallen to the bottom of the shaft. Everyone aboard was killed. Ooh, I'ma put a bookmarker so I know where I left off for the next videos. If you want to see more scary stories to tell in the dark, and you want me to get into these ones, let me know. Also, if there's a specific story that you want read in an ASMR video from any of these books, let me know what the chapter is or what the story is called, and I will read it in the next video. I hope you're able to relax. I hope you're able to fall asleep to my voice. And yeah, see you on the next video. Peace.